has reached a breaking point. Protests are exploding over the horrific murder of 3 young girls who protesters believe died because of the UK's broken and corrupt immigration system. We're going to see the latest on the uprising in the UK and what it really means in the growing backlash against the disaster of globalist policies everywhere. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you stay sane in these insane times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, with all of the chaos that we see breaking out all around us, are you prepared for handling medical emergencies if things really go awry? Well, now you can be, thanks to the Wellness Company. Gang, they've given me and my family the peace of mind to handle any medical crisis, from tick bites to the next pandemic. The Wellness Company's medical emergency kit is a true lifeline. It's chock full of essential meds like ivermectin, antibiotics, antivirals, and much, much more. This kit gives you real peace of mind for this area of preparedness. And the Wellness Company, it's a team of renowned medical professionals like Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. James Thorpe, Dr. Harvey Risch, and even more truth-seeking doctors. This medical emergency kit they've designed sets the gold standard for safety and prevention. So don't wait until the next crisis is here. Get peace of mind now by visiting twc.health/Turley and use code Turley for an exclusive $45 off and free shipping. You heard that right. Use promo code Turley for $45 off plus free shipping. I got my emergency pack. Now it's your turn. Click on that link below right now. On Monday of this week, citizens of the UK were utterly horrified by a brutal and shocking mass assault. A 17-year-old male entered into a children's dance school in the seaside town of Southport in the northwest of England and proceeded to stab over a dozen children in the dance class. 3 young girls, Alice Da Silva Aguiar, age 9, B.B. King, age 6, and Elsie Dot Stancombe, aged 7, were killed. 8 other children suffered knife wounds, 5 of whom are currently in very serious critical condition. It was without question one of the single worst acts of murderous evil committed against children ever witnessed in Britain's history. Within minutes of the attack, rumors began swirling that the alleged perpetrator was a migrant. And just that very suspicion alone caused Southport to explode. Now we're getting reports from British police that, based on their investigation thus far, they have concluded that this was a non-terrorist incident. Moreover, again, according to police, it turns out that the stabbings were not committed by an actual migrant. The perpetrators reportedly a British citizen born to Rwandan immigrants. Needless to say, given the tensions in Britain over deeply unpopular immigration policy that's flooded the nation with migrants over the last 14 years, many are very skeptical of such assessments, and their new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, found that out directly.
How many more children have died in our streets, Prime Minister? How many more children? How many more children, Prime Minister? Are we going to do something? Time to change, Starmer. Come on, it's needed. How many more children? Is it mine next? Bye-bye. Got your photos, off you go. Make a real change, Prime Minister. Make a real change! Our children! Go away!
I just found out my friend's 9-year-old daughter was killed.
You're not my kid!
Here's Reform Party leader Nigel Farage and his take on what's really going on.
Well, it's pretty horrendous. The 3rd young girl has died as a result of the stabbings yesterday in Southport. I obviously join everybody in my horror at what has happened. I know the Prime Minister went to lay flowers and was heckled, and it shows you how unhappy the public are with the state of law and order in our country, I have to say there are one or two questions. Was this guy being monitored by the security services? Some reports say he was, others less sure. The police say it's a non-terror incident, just as they said the stabbing of an Army Lieutenant Colonel in uniform on the streets of Kent the other day was a non-terror incident. I just wonder whether the truth is being withheld from us. I don't know the answer to that, but I think it is a fair and legitimate question. What I do know is something is going horribly wrong in our once beautiful country.
Something is going wrong in our once beautiful country. That's a not so subtle call to make Britain great again, or better make Great Britain great again. Now, of course, the legacy media right on cue is reporting that these protesters, these riots are all, quote, far right. That's right, the Kamala-loving media, the media that is currently fawning over the very VP that they were trying to get Joe Biden to dump mere months ago because she was so pathetically unpopular. Yeah, that media, the same media that for 3.5 years lied to us about Joe Biden's senility every single day. Yes, that media is now labeling these protesters far-right extremists who are exploiting this stabbing for their own xenophobic, racist, Islamophobic purposes. But obviously there is nothing far-right, nothing extreme, nothing radical about protesting the senseless, brutal murder of children. And the outrage stems more from the fact that more and more citizens of the UK, rightly so, feel as if their government officials are simply deaf to their concerns. No matter how much they voice their opposition to government policies, particularly those involving mass immigration, no matter how much they make those concerns clear, those concerns are routinely and blatantly dismissed by an out-of-touch political elite. We have to remember that over the last 14 years, under Tory rule to boot, this is why they just got so punished a couple of weeks back. But over the last 14 years, Britain was subject to a mass migration that the vast majority of Brits wanted nothing to do with. They never voted for it. They never voted for it. They were told by the Tories that they would stop immigration. Voters never voted to collapse their borders. In fact, it was quite the opposite. That's exactly what the Brexit vote was all about. Restoring their national sovereignty and protecting their borders from mass migration being forced upon them by the bullies in Brussels and the EU. And yet, here we are, with Britain seeing the single greatest mass surge in real numbers of mass migration over the last decade than they've ever seen in their history. And they don't want it. So all of this is to say that Britain's aloof politicians have created the very conditions that provoke these kind of protests in the first place. And then they turn around and they blame it on the effing far right. Talk about scapegoating. Now, when all is said and done, what's ultimately driving these protests is not far-right, radical right, extremist politics. It's actually something very mainstream that scholars call post-security politics. I wrote about this phenomenon back in 2018 in my book, The New Nationalism. Post-security politics describes the kind of political reactions that happen when the three basic securities that are supposed to be guaranteed by the nation state, border security, economic security, and cultural security, all erode under the pressures of globalization. So globalization, of course, has eroded border security primarily through getting rid of borders and opening up Europe in general and the UK in particular to mass migration. Globalization has eroded economic security with something called a global division of labor, where manufacturing and factory jobs are shipped out to the global south. And globalization has eroded cultural security by recasting a nation's culture, customs, and traditions as now bigoted, racist, and all kinds of phobic. along with the radical demographic changes happening through globalism's propensity towards open borders. And so these post-security concerns form a self-reinforcing loop. And what we're seeing here is that more and more populations feel radically insecure and vulnerable and unsafe, all as they see their culture and their distinct ways of life crumble right before their very eyes, and their politicians refuse to do any effing thing about it. It's worse. They're making it worse. They're only making it worse. They're not stopping it. They're only making it worse. So that's why there are a number of scholars, like Matt Goodwin out there is wonderful. They're saying that when all is said and done, the protests in Southport, they're just the beginning. The failed policies of globalism are indeed going to face a very terrible and fierce reckoning, just as it so deserves.